is motherhood causing a critical leak in the STEM pipeline? What is the evidence? What do we know? So despite so many efforts over the past decades to close the gender gap in STEM, women are still largely unrepresented in the STEM workforce, and even fewer women reach leadership positions. So the major leak in the STEM pipeline coincides with a time when women are starting to form a family. And even in fields where there's parity, like at graduate level or at the PhD level, for example, in social sciences, or in the life sciences. When you look at leadership positions at full professor level, you have much fewer women. So it seems that the major leak, the major exit of women from the STEM workforce is happening after the PhD at the higher levels of the career. So how about, what do we know? What is the evidence for this? So there's not a lot of research in STEM. There's a lot of research looking at this problem in other career sectors, but in STEM, there are a few studies. So the first study was a survey done in the 90s at the university in the US. And they found that mothers are less likely to get tenure than fathers and childless peers. When they tried to look at the mechanisms and why this is happening, they found that twice as many women as men say that family is one of the main reasons for leaving academia. This was in an academic sector. And also women were more likely to say that they delayed or renounced having children because of their career, to be able to pursue their career. And this is also what we found in our own research. And I'm going to talk about that later, and we have a talk. After my talk, we're going to talk about the preliminary results from a large survey that we did. But more recently, in 2019, there was a study that looked at the career trajectories of mothers and fathers and STEM professionals during a few years. And they found that 40% of mothers in the US, this study was conducted in the US, leave full-time STEM employment within 3 years of having children, which is huge. And when the authors looked after 8 years, this number increased to 48%. So that's nearly half of women in STEM sectors leaving their career after having children. So I'm not going to talk more about this paper because we are so lucky that the author of this paper is giving a talk. So stay tuned for session 4. Erin Keck is going to present her research on this and other important issues. So why are women leaving the STEM workforce after having children? So besides facing challenges for being women, mothers encounter additional obstacles to career advancement. And it took a global pandemic for us to really start talking about these issues. So lack of childcare. The pandemic made it so obvious how important childcare infrastructures are for mothers. So when with the lockdowns, with school closures and childcare closures, it became obvious that women are carrying most of the childcare burden. So they had to reduce their working hours, and many had to leave their jobs altogether. And this was already happening. It was just magnified by the pandemic. Another problem is unequal parental leaves. So not only women stay longer, outside the work if they have longer parental leaves when compared to men, who many don't take any parental leave at all, and most very few. Parental leaves will set the balance at home on who and how much we're taking care of our children. So when the baby comes, if mothers are spending more time alone with their children, studies show that this pattern will continue being reproduced throughout their life in their family. So another problem is motherhood penalties, so salary penalties. Many studies show that after having children, women have salary penalties, and a study estimated that for each child, a woman loses about 5% of her salary. And one reason for this salary gap is because a lot of moms will take part-time jobs while fathers won't. And overall, at the end of the career, this will result in a salary gap. Maternal bias and discrimination. So also research shows that women are less likely to be promoted or hired, and they are perceived as less competent and less committed to their work by their employers and by their colleagues. So I think probably most people in the audience have felt that. If you're a mother in STEM, after having children, somehow we feel different. Some women describe as they feel invisible. And due to this discrimination, they are pushed out of projects. They are no longer invited to attend meetings or networking events. But somehow these problems remain invisible. We don't really talk about them. So just a parenthesis here, we have made a video to talk about maternal wall, maternal bias and discrimination. So please do stay until the end of my talk to watch this video. Finally, our work culture was designed for the ideal worker, excuse me, someone who is available all around the clock. And academia in particular, in the STEM sector, is traditionally a male-dominated sector. And academia in particular has this work devotion scheme. And at the end, section 4, again, stay tuned. We're going to talk about this in detail, where if you're not working all the time, if you're not working evenings and weekends and don't have holidays, you're considered as not fully passionate and committed to your work. So obviously, when you have kids, whether it's mothers or fathers, we have less time to devote to our research. So this will affect career advancement. And finally, as this cartoon, which I think everyone knows, this cartoon represents all the domestic and the childcare burden that mothers carry. So the pandemic, again, made this problem very real, but actually we have known for decades, there's a lot of research showing that women are doing up to 3 times more, spending up to 3 times more time doing domestic chores and doing childcare. And this happens in every country, in every demography, at any level of education. And there are 2 studies in STEM in academia showing that it is no different. Women in academia, even if their partner is also an academic, they're also spending more time doing childcare and domestic chores. And of course, all of these problems stem from gender norms and this idea that men are the breadwinners and women are the primary carers. So they should devote themselves to their children. So now we know all this. The pandemic has helped to reveal all these problems, but why didn't we speak about this before? Why have we been keeping silent? So one problem is women fear career penalties. We all know that motherhood, even if it's subconsciously, we all know that motherhood is seen as a weakness or a liability. And if we don't talk about this, if there's no awareness, if we don't have role models, if mothers are hiding their motherhood at work, and we are all struggling with these problems, and there's isolation, then we continue with a general lack of awareness of these structural barriers. We don't talk to each other, so we don't know we are being victims of these problems. And finally, there's a problem of all this is normalized, the normalization of gender social norms. This is just the way it is. We have it internalized, we have socialized. Women are supposed to be mothers and men are supposed to be working. So it's very, very hard to even see that these barriers are there. So because we don't see the structural barriers, women are blamed when they fail in their career. So fathers, men have children, fathers continue in their career progression, no problem, and women lag behind. So if we don't see the structural problems, the blame is on the women. And if we look at most of the interventions and the initiatives to to help mothers. They are all about fixing mothers. It's a lot of how to get work-life balance, how to self-care, you know, empowerment. You need to be more confident. You need to be better. You need to do more. And this is the problem. And we need to shift this focus. And this is the motherhood stigma, because we are not aware of the structural barriers. The focus continues to be on mothers. So what is happening, and I think a lot of you in the audience will relate to this, is that we hit the maternal wall, but these barriers are invisible. So we feel this blame, which quite often we think it's an internal, the famous mom guilt, but actually this comes from the outside. So there's this feeling, you're not doing enough, I'm not doing enough, so mothers just keep doing more. It's a lot of self-improvement. I have to do more. So in academia, mothers will take more teaching. They will take administrative roles. They will do science outreach. They will just do anything they can to improve their evaluations, to build up their CV. There's a lot of self-sacrifice as well, because obviously it's not possible to do all this and do more and more. So we start sacrificing our own well-being, our own time to spend more time with the children, to write that grant that weekend. And then we keep on hitting the maternal wall. And this goes round and round and round until women reach a point of burnout, and they have to make a choice. And this is why we say mothers can't have it all, because they can't do it all, because they are doing a lot more. And fathers don't have to make the choice because they are sailing away without having to face these structural barriers. So once this happens and mothers choose to leave or reduce their hours, which will affect their career, this is masked by choice. So it looks like it's a personal choice. And this is the problem. Personal choice hides the structural and social barriers, because all of this is so internalized. You know, when a mother works part-time, she's going to say to herself, oh, I just want to spend more time with my children. But, you know, why didn't a father have to make this choice? Because he didn't have the barriers. So he didn't feel the need to work fewer hours because he was coping. And this is what we have to tackle. So I really like this quote by Dr. Caitlin Collins, a social scientist. She says that mothers don't need balance, they need justice. So we don't need to work on our work-life balance. We just need to really fix the system. So we need to break the silence, raise awareness of these problems, and start fixing the system instead of fixing moms. So how do we go about and do that? How do we move forward? So at the individual level, we really have to raise awareness of these structural barriers so mothers can speak up when they encounter them. And we need to support them. We need to start thinking about policies to really promote equity and to support mothers and caregivers. But we really need to start pressuring decision makers to take action. We need to implement and enforce policies that promote workplace equity and inclusion, and also just gender equality in general. And a lot of these policies already exist, but they are not enforced. And why is it so important to work on policy? Because we know policy shapes social change. So for example, I'll give you an example. In Iceland, the government has implemented equal parental leaves between mothers and fathers already more than 10 years ago, and it's really equal for mothers and fathers. And within a few years, fathers started taking up to 3 months. They used to take 15 days on average, and many fathers are taking up to 3 months. And this is starting, excuse me, to be considered as normal. And this has implications in the workforce. There are more women in the workforce. The salary gap has been reduced, and also attitudes have changed. Fathers are more implicated in childcare. There's a lot more balance. So we really need to work on policies, and also at the level of organizations. You know, if we have a work culture that basically treats everyone as slaves, and you receive emails on the weekend and you're expected to work all the time, of course, people will have to do it. But if you have a work environment that, you know, normalizes parents, that is flexible, that listens to people, then people start adapting and adjusting their behavior. And this is what we want to do at Mothers in Science. So we are amplifying the voices of mothers in STEM, and we hope to help create meaningful solutions for change. We are a young organization. We started in 2019 in June, so we are just about to have our second anniversary. We are truly an international organization. Our team is made of moms who live from New Zealand to the US and in Europe. And our vision is to, we hope to help close the gender gap in STEM and really help build a world where nobody has to choose between having a career and a family. And based on our values of diversity, community, empowerment, and collaboration, we are devoted to increasing the retention of women in STEM careers by supporting mothers and raising awareness of their challenges and of the structural barriers, and by advocating for workplace equity and inclusion for parents and caregivers. So we have several projects based on 4 main aims. We have 4 main aims. First, we really want to build a community and form a community of mothers and parents in STEM, so that we can support one another, connect, because there's a lot of isolation among mothers, and also empower mothers in STEM so they can speak up when confronted with these obstacles. We also really believe in research, and we want to try and identify obstacles to career advancement so we can inform policy. And also with our research, we hope to encourage other organizations or researchers to do this research, which is lacking. And once we have this data and we are equipped with this data, we can start advocating for workplace equity and inclusion, and we can continue raising awareness of these problems. And finally, we really see ourselves as maybe the promoters, or I don't know, we want to give some energy and foster collaborations between organizations and support organizations so we can all work together and start addressing these issues. So I'm just going to briefly speak about some of our projects. First, our community. We are very proud of our community, which is very engaged and very supportive. We have, among our platforms, we have over 11,000 members. We ask questions all the time, and we share resources, and our members are very engaged. We also have a series of webinars and live sessions on Instagram with different themes. We invite a speaker, and moms can, we can discuss about these things and try to find solutions together. And these have been very successful. And finally, the journeys, which we are very, very happy with this project. We have very, very positive feedback. We have almost 100 journeys now. We're almost reaching 100 from many, many countries. And these are women from many different fields and sectors. It's very diverse. And really, the younger moms in our community find these journeys very inspiring, very encouraging, and very relatable. So it's really a way to have those role models, increase visibility, and connect the moms. In terms of research, we started doing a global survey with our partners. And so this survey ran from September to December last year. And again, Ryan, she's our research manager. She's going to talk about our preliminary results after my talk. And this survey, really, our aims were mostly to raise awareness and advocate for change. So really to start getting these issues on the main agenda and on the discussions. And remember, we designed this before the pandemic. So we had to run this during the pandemic. But we really wanted to raise awareness of these issues. Also, we wanted to start identifying the specific obstacles to career advancement of mothers in STEM, to start informing policy. And also, we hope this can be used as preliminary data for further research. We really want to encourage other organizations or researchers to continue studying these issues. And we also are slowly building resources, hub of resources on our website. For the pandemic, we had to build this. So I don't know if you've checked. I invite you to check this pandemic resource, very useful. We speak about how the pandemic impacted mothers in STEM, women in STEM. We have all the research, all the surveys and the studies that have been done during the pandemic are there. If you have one that it's not there, please send it to us and we'll add it to the list. We also have links to financial support and other resources. And finally, we have recommendations for employers in STEM on how to support parents and caregivers during the pandemic and beyond. And we also publish often evidence-based articles on our social media, and we run polls to start collecting data, which is obviously not publishable, not scientific, but it really helps us to see what are really the problems that our moms in our community are facing, and we find some interesting things. And finally, and I'm almost done, in terms of advocacy, we have published a few articles to raise awareness of these issues. We speak at events when people ask us for interviews. And very important, we launched this global letter in partnership with 500 women scientists, our partners, and we had amazing support from 26 organizations so far. Your organization can still sign, and together we represent over 250,000 women in STEM in over 60 countries. And we're going to start demanding decision makers in STEM to start taking action to support mothers in STEM. And finally, here we are, our conference, our first conference, to start addressing these issues. And thank you so much again for coming. And our aim with this conference was really to bring together different actors in STEM, not just mothers in STEM, but organizations, research institutions, nonprofit, science societies, publishers, so we can start raising awareness of these issues, and we can continue having these discussions and start brainstorming actionable solutions for creating change. It is time to take action. So I want to thank our sponsors who allowed us to host this event and make it more accessible. So we were able to give a lot of free tickets for people with financial needs. All of our partners and supporters have been amazing. We have reached out asking for help or to collaborate with many organizations, and everyone has been amazing and supportive, which really makes us believe that, yeah, together we can make change and work together. And finally, I want to thank our team, these amazing women who are moms of small children. They have full-time jobs, and remember that most of our lifetime as an organization has been during the pandemic with lockdowns, and we kept going. So if there are young mothers in science watching this right now and doubting whether they can make it, whether they can succeed with children, just be inspired by these amazing women. Yes, you can, you definitely can. I also want to thank our contributors. We have volunteers, people who helped us with different things, and our fantastic community of mothers in STEM. Who are you? Thank you very much. And if you like our work, please support us. We are an all-volunteer organization, and we really need donations and sponsors to finance our work, and so we can keep going. And that's it, I'm done. And now I'm going to play a video. Please stay tuned.
Long-standing inequalities and discrimination against mothers are rampant and unspoken in the STEM sector. It's time to break the silence and take action.
I was accused of showing insufficient passion for my work because of taking parental leave, and had a fellowship terminated as a result.
I was fired on the first day after returning from maternity leave.
Then not long after, I received an email from this individual saying that they wanted to stop our collaboration completely because he felt it best I, quote unquote, concentrate on motherhood.
I was told directly that I was past for promotion due to concerns that I would be distracted because I was a single mother.
Over 34% of mothers globally leave full-time STEM employment after having children, and this contributes to the underrepresentation of women in leadership positions. Why? Unlike their male counterparts, women's personal lives are unjustly seeping into their careers without permission or justification.
One boss didn't allow me to take shifts in the ICU after I came back from parental leave, and another fired me after learning that I was pregnant.
I was bullied about breast pumping on multiple occasions.
I was told by my advisor at the end of my first year as a doctoral student that, and by the way, she was a woman, I was too pretty and chirpy, her exact words, to be in a doctoral program, and I needed to drop out of the program. And then I needed to get a job and start a family.
Due to this maternal wall, mothers in STEM receive lower salaries, are less likely to be promoted or hired, and are perceived as less competent and committed, all because they have children.
My boss told me I should have mentioned my kids on my CV because he never would have hired me if he had known.
My PhD supervisor was furious when I got pregnant and subsequently took me off the project entirely.
I found out I had an abstract rejected from an international conference while I was on maternity leave, because while I was on maternity leave, most of my collaborators had submitted an almost identical abstract to the same conference, and they had accepted that one and not mine.
I was told that being a scientist is a full-time job that is not possible for mothers.
At Mothers in Science, we are amplifying the voices of mothers in STEM as they battle for equal opportunities at work. Join us as we raise awareness of the structural barriers faced by mothers in STEM and create meaningful solutions for change and workplace equity and inclusion.